Welcome back everyone, it's your Code King Zaf here. Let's do a video on Jinwoo stats. Yes, that's right. I'm sure a lot of you are wondering what the best stats are. Not only these stats here, but when it comes to Jinwoo stats as a whole, when it comes to its crit rate, crit damage, defense pen, and damage increase, I'll cover all that with you in this video because his stats are important as they vary when it comes to the early game, the mid game, and the late game. But not only that, it depends what content you plan on doing, so let me cover that all in this video so you know exactly what's going on because Jinwoo stats are not easy to do. And very quick as a reminder, if you want a bunch of free codes, make sure you go to the link down below and use sports for free on Enemey Supporter Program. It is very easy to do. You press that button, press that, and you are done. You're sporting after you link your account, of course. Again, no payment involved at all. Once you support us, you wait about 5 hours, then you go to the top right here, you press the My Page button. This page comes up, you scroll down, my name comes up right here, you keep going down, and I receive benefits right here. You can see all the unique codes. There are 2 codes right now, with 7 more coming out in the coming days. We get 1 or 2 every single week, so just be patient. Right now you will get Essence Stones and Gold, so make sure you support that way. You don't miss out. Remember, the supporter program resets every 6 weeks, so your support's all be gone, so make sure you support us yet again. But I do want to mention, if you're a supporter, to please join our Discord server. We have active giveaways for you for $100 each, so make sure you join that way. You don't miss out, of course. And speaking of miss, Moises did not miss our last video. Here is the first commenter, so here's a shout out and enjoy that juice exclusive Discord role. Now, as we jump to our stats, I do want to mention, your stats are dependent on where your power is. As you can see based on this chart here, it is a bit confusing, I'll try to explain. Basically, if your power is in the red, if your power is in the white, and if your power is in the blue, your stat amounts will vary, because if you're in the red and the white, your stats are getting nerfed. Yes, that's right, it's been standard since the game's release. You can see right here, if you're at the 50% to 85% mark when it comes to your power, your crit chance, if it's at the 50% mark, is being reduced by a ton, going from 50% to 20% if you're at the 80 to 85% mark. So I do want to mention that for you, especially because your precision stat does go down as well, and that's one of these stats we have to work with. Very important that everyone does understand. If you're new to the game and you're wondering what your precision stat should be, it is just dependent on the enemy you face. If your power is in the red, you do not have to focus on that stat. It is not important, but later on, once you're in the white, once you're in the blue, the precision stat is very important because that influences your minimum damage dealt. Very important, so I'll jump into that. Now, jumping back into Jinwoo stats, very important. If you're someone that's new to the game, if you're just starting out, all you have to worry about is this stat right here, the strength stat. Yes, that's right. No agility, vitality, intelligence, or perception. It is all strength all the time, baby. Getting that attack stat up, oh yes. So that's all you have to do. And if you're new to the game, honestly, in the comment section, let me know. I'm very curious who our new players are. But going back to this right here, if you're starting out, it is all strength, but once you start reaching that mid-game mark, you have to look into other stats. Yes, like your intelligence and your perception, agility and vitality are stats that are just never touched because we don't need more HP, we do not need more defense, and crit rate and crit damage, we have much better sources for them because when it comes to our stats, there's only 3 important stats we want basically going up. That is our precision stat, our cooldown reduction, and also our attack stat. These are the most important stats in the game. In ranking order, there is no specific order because your stats vary on the content you're completing. So when it comes to content like the guild boss, and don't worry, I'll cover the mid to late game as well, but when it comes to content like the guild boss, your stats will vary because you're using very specific weapons, and also, as I mentioned before, your power is a bit different because the boss's power stat is so low, as you can see right here, 50,000 when we're easily at the 2 million mark right now. So don't worry too much about your precision stat, but you still want just a little bit of that stat because when it comes to the enemies you face, your stats are honestly dependent on the enemy level, especially when it comes to precision, that being the perception stat. So just keep in mind that your stats do vary based on the enemy level, but I'll give you some standard loadouts when it comes to your stats. So when it comes to the guild boss, you have a very interesting stat loadout, especially when it comes to power destruction as well, because we're using weapons like the Moon Shadow, and we have a specific rotation. Yes, that's right. So when it comes to your stats overall, what you want to do is this right here. You want to put a lot of stats into intelligence. Yes, you want this set all the way up to get the perfect rotation, that being the set at 340 to get a 350 total. Then what a lot of players do is they put 40 stats right here, especially for the guild boss. You want 50 perception to boost your precision stat, so 50 here, 350 here, and of course, all the rest of those stats going all the way into strength and attack. That is what I call beautiful. So this is the ideal loadout for the guild boss, but also goes for the power destruction as well. But I do want to mention, of course, your stats do matter here, because when it comes to power destruction, you want to make sure your precision stat is right. So you do want to get it higher up if you want. A lot of players try to put their precision all the way at the 99% mark, but that's up to you. It does boost your minimum damage amounts, basically making sure you deal more damage over time, because your damage ranges no longer vary. But again, it's up to you what you want to do. If you want to keep one loadout for the power destruction and the guild boss, you can just use this loadout here. But I do want to mention, this incorporates the moon shadow. If for some reason you do not have the moon shadow, these stats don't really matter too much, because you're always rotating use this skill here. When it comes to the bonus it provides to Jinwoo and our team members, very good. You have to make sure you get this weapon. This is so OP. The Moon Shadow's bonus is stacked 3 times, giving us a 15% targets damage taken increase, oh baby, including this right here, the A5 bonus, a 15% increase to the user's damage and our team members as well. That's what I call, yes you guessed it, juicy. So this is a very good weapon, which is exactly why we focus our stats towards it. But I do want to mention, if you have your Reawakening skill, that being this skill right here, to the Transcendence mark, your stats actually do change. So we are no longer looking at 350 intelligence, because you have to remember, the Reawakening Blessing Stone is one we always use in every single piece of content. So it is one of the first Blessing Stones you want all the way to Transcendence. As you can see right here, I got Sharp Perception up just because I do like doing the battlefield time, and this one makes it much easier. But make sure you get your Reawakening up first, very important. So this stat goes up by 4%. Now watch very carefully. I recommend 148 here, because if we jump into our stats, we have to maintain our perfect rotation. So when it comes to Jinwoo stats right here, you can see our cooldown reduction is at 7.67%. And if it goes up by 4%, we can reduce our stat here by 4% as well, because our Blessing Stone, the Transcendent version, is giving us 4%. So you can see right here, I'm going to reset, confirm, and I'm going to put this stat all the way up to 148. Watch very carefully. We got 140 and 148 in total. Confirm, go back here. Remember, it was at 7.67%, and you can see right here, we're at 3.67. That means our stat is now perfect if, again, we have the Transcendence version of the Blessing Stone here, Reawakening. So I just want to mention that, because a lot of you are probably getting that, or you will get it soon. So just keep that in mind. But I do want to mention, for general content, we're not usually using the Moon Shadow, so you do want to basically take away your intelligence stat. You don't need it right now, especially for modes like the Workshop, Upbringing to Light. You don't need it at all. So we're going to go here, unless using Moon Shadow, of course. We're going to go to our stats. We're going to basically change this up, because what I want is a higher strength amount, but also a higher precision amount. So if we go to our stats, you can see we are currently at 90%. I do want to get us up all the way to around the 99% mark. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to put these stats up just a bit. Let's put in, I would say 60 for now, confirm. Let's see what our stat is like now. We are at 95%, so let's put a bit more. Let's do 30 more in the stat, confirm. Let's see, are we at the 99% mark yet? So 97.92, that's fine. You can put just a bit more if you want. Again, it's up to you which one you do for your stats. I'm just giving you the, I guess, the general loadout. So you can see right here, we put 120 and we're at the 99% mark. So this is recommended, but I do want to mention, for your gems, make sure when it comes to your orange or yellow gems, depending on what you see, some people are colorblind, I guess. You want to have all these gems as precision gems, very important. You want to max these out to ensure your stat goes up. This is our best source for that stat there, to ensure we get that 99% mark. And then for, let's say, the Workshop, we put all other stats right here in the strength stat. That is the way to go. We do not need intelligence, boom, confirm, and we are done. So that's perfect. We got our precision all the way to 90% and our strength stat all the way up. This is what I recommend if, again, like I mentioned before, you meet the power requirements. This game is all about power. If you're in the red, the way you act when it comes to your stats is different. But on the topic of stats, I do want to mention, your stats right here for Jinwoo, but again, I'm going to reiterate, if you're in the mid to late game, these stats are pretty much perfect for general content, but when it comes to guild boss and power destruction, the stats I mentioned earlier are perfect. Anyone can pretty much use those, you won't suffer too much, but if you want and you're not using the Moon Shadow, you can just go all strength all the time, that is perfectly fine, but make sure the intelligence stat is up if you're using Moon Shadow to ensure your rotations are perfect, using the Reawakening Blessing Stone, of course. Now, when it comes to your Jinwoo stats as a whole, I'll give you some general recommendations because I know these stats here do vary again based on the bosses you're facing and based on the enemy level, especially when it comes to defense penetration stat. Yes, that's right. Not all bosses need a high defense penetration amount. Trust me when I say you want to focus on the content and look up guides when it comes to that specific boss you're facing, because these stats do matter. Let me explain. For example, right now when it comes to the Yang Queen, you want your defense penetration stat all the way as low as possible. Yes, that's right. And you want your damage increase stat all the way up, just because right now, when it comes to the Yang Queen, when it comes to using Shadow Step, Bloodlust, and also Choice Weapon, you're basically good to go in the defense penetration stat, so you don't need any more. But when it came to the old guild boss, defense penetration worked out fine, so again, it depends on the content you want to face, but in most pieces of content, you're pretty much good running a high damage increase stat, a high crit rate stat, looking at around the 8,000 mark. First off, I know, you'll say, well Zaf, don't we cap out at 50% if we're at the 4,500 mark? Well, let me explain. When it comes to the enemies you face, there is a hidden stat reduction when it comes to your crit rate and crit damage. The enemies do have a crit resistance as well on top of the defense stat they have, so that's why it's recommended to at least have the 8,000-ish mark, so you can basically go above how much crit you need, maintaining that 50% number, so it's up to you, but I do recommend around the 8,000 mark for Jinwoo's crit rate, and when it comes to crit damage, it is still recommended for pretty much all content to go the 200% route, unless the boss has some crazy crit resistance, which we generally haven't faced yet. The 200% mark is perfect. Defense pen as well, it depends on the enemies you face, but unless you're facing the hard mode Deimos Workshop mode, where you do need a ton of defense penetration, you're pretty much good right now. You can just run 20% for example, doesn't matter too much, but again, it does vary on the enemy's level, so it's not something I could recommend. It depends on the specific enemy you face, so defense penetration, I can't tell you what the ideal stat loadout is, but again, when it comes to the guild boss, for example, lower is better right now, but for general content, honestly, 20%, 30% and under is fine, but damage increase, honestly, getting more of this is always nice. I aim for at least 3% to ensure I get a lot of damage coming in, because as you increase the stat, the amount of the bonus you get goes down. So if I were to pump in, let's say, another 20,000 here, I wouldn't get a 30% bonus in the stat. I would probably get 10% or less, so just make sure you hit that 30% mark. It's very juicy to ensure you get some bonus damage increase in, but these were just general recommendations. Again, it depends on the content you face, but when it comes to Jinwoo stats, what I recommended is pretty much the meta, so hope that helps. I do want to mention though, if you have Intuit as one of your only blessing stones at the legendary mark, you want to make sure you get 200 intelligence to ensure you get the bonus right here, because your attack stat increases by 6 for every 1 point in intelligence you have. That means to reach the 1200 cap here, we need 200 in our intelligence stat, and this is what it looks like. Let me just reset my stats one more time just to show you. So when it comes to intelligence, boom, we're gonna get this all the way to 190. Because we have a base of 10 right now, confirm, and we're done. That's the amount of intelligence you need to ensure you get the Intuit bonus. Now, if all that setup pretty much covers all you have to know about Jinwoo stats, there was a lot to mention there, so I hope that helped you out. Basically, just remember, when it comes to the early game, the mid game, and the late game, your stat amounts do vary, so don't worry too much about what your stats will be, because they're always transforming, especially because of the content you face. You can always reset your stats. If you're starting out, just go all strength. If you're at the mid game to late game mark, you want to have some precision in, some intelligence depending on the content you face, and of course, all the rest of your stats into strength to get your attack set up. And again, when it comes to Jinwoo's base stats, you want to consider the enemies you face, and also the general recommendations when it comes to Jinwoo stats and the crit damage amount, crit rate amounts, and more. So make sure you take note of everything I mentioned here. That way you know for a fact you're running your Jinwoo perfectly to ensure you get the right damage in. But with all that said, I hope you enjoyed. Do not forget to support us for free. That way, I can send you a bunch of juicy codes. We have 2 codes right now with many more coming out for Essence Stones, Gold, Mana Power Extracts, and more. So just support us, don't think. That way, I can send you all the available codes. We have 2 right now, with 7 more coming out. The link is down below, so do enjoy. On that note, this is all I have for you today. This is your Code King Zaf, signing out.